Okay. Find the perimeter of the figure below, composed of a rectangle and a semicircle. Round to the nearest tenths place. So what perimeter means is it's the distance around the edge of the shape. So how much is that? So one thing you can see is that if the top part of the rectangle is 14, then the bottom part's also 14. And if the side of the shape is 6, then that means that the diameter of the semicircle is also 6. All right, so if we want to find the perimeter, we have to add up all the sides, all right? So for the rectangle part, that's 14 plus 6 plus 14. That is going to give you 20 plus 14, which is equal to 34. But now we have to find the perimeter of the semicircle part as well. So that's circumference divided by 2. All right, so circumference is just diameter times pi, and we're going to use 3.14. So diameter times 3.14, in this case a diameter is 6, and that's going to give us 18.84. But again, we don't have the entire circle, we only have a semicircle, so it's half of it, meaning divide the circumference by 2, and that gives us the semicircle perimeter. And last but not least, if you add 34 plus 9.32, you're going to get your total perimeter around the entire circle. So your final answer is 43.42. I'm sorry, we're supposed to round to the nearest tenths place, so it should be 43.4. That is that's the perimeter, 43.4. Okay, find the perimeter of the figure below, composed of a parallelogram and 2 semicircles. Round to the nearest tenths place. So perimeter is the distance around the outside of the figure. This is an irregular shape because we have a parallelogram. The parallelogram is the part of the shape that looks like this on the interior, right? And then you also have 2 semicircles that are sliced diagonally. All right, so one thing is, if the top of the parallelogram has a length of 11, then the bottom also have a length of 11, and we also see that the diameter of the of this irregular figure is 10 right there for that circle. So the last thing we want to consider is that there's not just one semicircle this time. There are in fact 2, and if you put those 2 together, it's going to make a complete circle. You put those back together again. So if you find the circumference of the circle, add that to your 11s, you should get the entire perimeter of that shape. Circumference is diameter times pi. Our diameter is 10, and we're going to use 3.14. Multiply that together, you're going to get 31.4, and that is the perimeter of the circular parts. Now, 11 plus 11, that is 22. So if you add your 22 to your 31.4, let's make that 22.0, you're going to get your final perimeter. And we're rounding it to the nearest tenth, which is what we have, so we are done. All right, find the perimeter of the figure below, composed of a rectangle and 2 semicircles. Round to the nearest tenths place. All right, so since we're finding the perimeter, it looks like we're slicing that out of the shape, but it's still part of the edge of the shape, right? So you put those 2 semicircles together, it makes a full circle. So in order to find the total perimeter, you can find the circumference of that circle. So circumference is diameter times pi. Going to use 3.14. Our diameter from the picture, as you can see, is 8. And that's going to give you, all right, so that's going to give you 25.12. You also have the 10 up top. On the bottom, it's identical, so that's 10. 10 plus 10 gives you 20. And the total perimeter is just 20.00 plus 25.12, and that's going to give you 45.12. We only want to the nearest tenth, so that's going to be 45.2 for our final perimeter value of this irregular shape. Okay, and I rounded that wrong. Let's fix that. If we round it to the nearest tenths place, the tenths place is the first digit after the decimal. So since the number in back of that is 2, it's too small to round up. So we're going to keep it at 45.1. So 45.1 is our final answer. Now we're done. All right, find the perimeter of the figure below, composed of an isosceles trapezoid and one semicircle, rounded to the nearest tenth place. So if you want to find the perimeter, you have to add up the distance of all of the sides. So we have 4 plus 16. That's going to be 8 plus 16, which is 24. And now we have to find the circumference of this semicircle. For that, we're just going to multiply our diameter times pi. And that's going to be a diameter of 2 from the picture. We're going to use 3.14. That will give us 6.28. All right, and from here, it's important to remind everyone and point out again, this is just a semicircle. That's half of the circle. So we have to divide our circumference divided by 2. That gets us back to 3.14. So the total perimeter around the outside of the irregular figure is going to be 24 added to the semicircle. So that's going to be 24 plus 3.14. Let's line up our decimals. 24 is the same as 24.00. Then we add starting from the back. But they only want us adding to the nearest tenths place, so that would be 27.1 if we go to the nearest tenths. That is your perimeter. And we are done. All right, here's the last one. Find the perimeter of the figure below, composed of a square and 4 semicircles, rounded to the nearest tenths. So if you look at this shape, you know that if I put 2 semicircles together, that's going to make a whole circle. But there's 4 of them, so here's another whole circle. So they're all going to have the same diameter. And so circumference is equal to diameter times pi. Here the diameter is 6. We're going to use 3.14 for pi. That's equal to 18.84. So that is the circumference of one of the circles. But again, we have 2 semicircles. So if you double that, multiply that times 2, you'll get the perimeter of the entire shape, which is 37.68. But we want to round it to the nearest tenth. And this is the tenths place. Look at the digit behind it right there. And that's an 8. Anything 5 and above means add 1 more to the place value that we're rounding it to. So that'll be 6 plus 1. That makes 37.7. And that is the perimeter of our irregular shape. And we are done.